Welcome to Who's Right, What's Left. I'm your co-host, Melissa Reinhart.
And I'm Matt Neubauer. We're here to discuss some of the important issues that face Americans today and have some civil discourse and banter between friends and parties.
Who's right?
What's left? All right, welcome back to Who's Right?
And What's Left?
This is, as promised, our show, our post-election show. In an earlier edition, we did our preview and what our hopes and dreams were for the country for the next 4 years. And here we are after the election.
And that pre-show was, how would I feel if Trump were elected, and how would you feel the day after if Biden was elected? So, of course, lots of changes since then.
Dems threw us a curveball there.
Yes, that there was a big curveball. And we experienced another huge curveball a week ago. So by the time this goes on the air, it'll be 2 weeks post-election. Mm-hmm. We're going to fast track the production of this podcast. We feel it's important to share our reactions to the for the results. Anyway. I'm feeling a little bit numb still. I'll just be honest. I told friends and family we were going to record this tonight, and they're like, "How can you do that, Melissa?" And I said, "Well, first, Matt's a friend. We enjoy doing this podcast. Secondly, I've already said I'm kind of numb, and thirdly, they're like, but yeah, we're so angry." And I'm like, I'm not angry. I don't know how to feel. We've had a Trump presidency before. I feel like he's more emboldened now, so that does concern me. I don't know what to expect. I feel like maybe we have some semblance of a little bit of what to expect, but he's more emboldened now. So, they're like, yeah, but how are you going to be able to talk about this tonight? I'm like, the same way I do everything else that's a hot topic. And I know you well enough to know you wouldn't come in here all sassy about this.
I'm not going to gloat.
No, I knew you wouldn't gloat. No. And then if it would have been the other way around, I wouldn't have been gloating.
I know you wouldn't either. Absolutely.
No. Absolutely. We had a red wave in this country. And it wasn't just in this country. We had it within the state of Indiana. Mm-hmm. When we had it here locally in Allen County, and I can own that. There are a lot of reasons why, and I'm still very much a proud Democrat, and Matt is still my good friend. So, so own that red wave. Talk about it, Matthew. What are you especially proud of with the elections from last week?
Well, and like we said, the premise of the show first is to have these important discussions in a friendly manner with your friends.
With a little bit of comedy.
A little bit of comedy, absolutely. So I was surprised. I was surprised.
Really?
I kept, as much as I went around saying, oh yeah, we didn't have this. I mean, this wasn't a guaranteed, slam dunk. It was going to be. It was going to be tight, and I was really surprised. I am a little, reassured, and part of my thing is I get, a little bit more emboldened is one way to say it. More experienced is another way. One thing I did appreciate about him is that he did say that he was fully not prepared the first time. He did not. He didn't know what he was getting into. He mm-hmm. didn't think he would win, so he wasn't prepared for it. So, of course, it was kind of
deer in the headlights.
Yeah, he had his successes, but obviously it was a first-time politician presidency. I mean, it mm-hmm. was one of those things where, there were some learning curves, and I do think this time he's approaching it with a little more preparation. I want to say humility, but I know that's probably not.
A whole lot of humility with him.
A whole lot of humility with him. But I mean, I think he's with open eyes. I think he knows what he's up for. Mm-hmm. Another win, I think, for all of us is that Kennedy gets a shot at some stuff. I did like a lot of things he had to say, and I thought had he remained on the ballot, I think he would have split the Republican vote a lot. But I think he is well aware just by his upbringing of all just the dark side of politics. I mean, if anybody, a Kennedy, I mean, he knows the ins and outs of this stuff, and for him to have a place in that administration, I think is going to be great. I think that's going to be really good.
Those 7 swing states, the fact that, they call the blue wall in the Sun Belt, that all 7 went to Trump, it really could have gone a different way, or, it divided the electorate differently. Very, very surprising. And of course, there's a Republican Senate majority still waiting on the House. It very well could be a Republican majority. I think there's still 18 seats not called yet as of 5 p.m. Now, it may have since then, and we're recording at 6:30, 7 o'clock this evening. So, other lessons learned, rural voters were underestimated, I think, by Democrats.
Yeah.
No, I know in this region, rural voters were not taken for granted, but that's just northeastern Indiana, right? There's the rest of the country, and Republicans did take them into account, and they showed up.
Yeah,
they showed up for Trump and so many others. So kudos for that. I think that's a big lesson to be learned, and things that we can do differently as Democrats. Trump also made gains with Latino men.
I thought that was wonderful. That was, I thought that was a great, just great for them to even point that out. But I think that was a real surprise. Not with the folks that I've talked to, but nationwide. I thought that was huge.
And I actually know some Latino men who are very much proud MAGA followers and went to his rally. But far enough removed generationally that very much identify as Americans and aren't happy with current leadership and the state of the economy, and just devout followers. There's so many lessons to be learned. And, my dad is, my dad's in the nursing home, and I went to go visit him this last weekend. And of course he brings up, he's a diehard Democrat. I think I've mentioned that before on another broadcast. And one of the first things he said about the election was, this country is not ready for a female president. And, I didn't like hearing that. But the truth of the matter is that I've thought about that the last few days, and, I think he's right. And I don't like to say that because it's like 2024, where it's going to be 2025 soon. And, I did my research as I always do. And I know you might eye roll this, but, that glass ceiling is still in place. And we've talked about this in other contexts. It's only been 235 years.
Well, and I don't...
45 men have served as president in this country.
Yes.
235 years. I think it's time, and we've gotten close. We are so far behind other nations. I mean, Japan, China, South Africa, Russia, and Saudi Arabia. Those are the only other countries that have not had a female leader. Let me repeat. Japan, China, South Africa, Russia, and Saudi Arabia. It's depressing. And we haven't had any major political party nominate a woman for a president until 2016. We got so close. And, and I looked at the research because I knew you would be like, well, are you saying that because I've had this question a lot for years, especially when Hillary ran. Are you saying, Melissa, that people should just vote for, a woman because, we haven't had a woman president? Absolutely not. I mean, I want someone to be qualified. However, when they were polling women, they said that only 1 in 10 voters said the fact that they voted for Harris for that reason. 1 in 10 voters, only 10% voted. Now, a quarter said that was an important driver for them to vote for her. but only 1 in 10 said that that was the reason they were voting for her. Now, if they were black female voters, that was a big compelling reason for them to vote for her, to make her the first female president. So I found that interesting, because that told me it may have been a small part of it, but more so they felt that she was qualified. Now you may disagree with the fact that, whether she was qualified or not. But at the rate that we've been going without having broken that glass ceiling, it could very well be another, like they're saying with Congress, with the way women have been underrepresented. We've had far more Congress women than female senators, that for Congress to have an equal number of men and women at the pace that we've been going for the last several decades, it's going to take about 90 years to have parity. You and I will long be gone.
Yeah.
And that's really distressing to me that, we're a first world nation, and okay, I know I'm going on and on.
No.
Because I really didn't want to believe my father, because I want to think, no, darn it, we've made such great strides, but I really think there's something. It would be silly for me to think there's not something to that.
I think you've got to go further back, though. I don't think it's not that people are ready. I think you need to go at the very foundation of who is running. Do we have a 50-50 in the primaries? Does each party have, 2 women and 2 men fighting it out for the same spot? We don't. Women aren't running at the rate that men are running, and I think that thins the herd a great deal, and that does lessen your chances. We do need more women to run for these spots. We do need more women from the jump, Republican and there are a lot of wonderful conservative women out there I'd love to see run. We need to get both of them in there from the jump. As far as qualifications, I do disagree that she was qualified, and I base this on one question that I saw back to back. They asked Trump, what's your plan for the economy is number one for everybody. What's your plan for the economy? And he listed out without hesitation. He said, energy is going to drive transportation. Transportation is going to drive goods and services. That's going to drive the price down and everything. That's the plan. And he talked about it for 2 or 3 minutes. No joke, they asked her the exact same question, and we got the story of a middle-income family, and her grandmother owned a grocery store, and her mother saved up to buy a house.
She talked about her story.
She never answered the question, though. The question is, what's your plan? And she talked about her story. Like, so what that tells me, the answer is, I know what it's like to be poor. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, we know it sucks. It sucks when groceries are expensive. So what's your plan? And there was nothing. Nothing. And I know she's competent in her field. I mean, she got up the ranks as a prosecutor and did a lot of stuff. But for president, you want the highest office in the country. I want to hear a plan. And his plan made sense. And he told us about it. I mean, it wasn't even like I got a plan and it's a secret.
What do you I was reading what he wants to do on day one. He said he will not be a dictator once in office, except for day one. He said he would be a dictator, which I thought that was kind of ironic. I won't be, but
what does that mean to a corporate guy? What's that mean? I mean, I don't know. I've
never met the man, and
me neither. But if you're running your own business and you're used to being, if you're Trump and you're ahead of Trump Incorporated, you're gonna, that's your show. It's your name. It's your show. You're gonna lay down the law the way you want to hear it, and the way you want to have it done, and that's the way it needs to be done.
So have you been tracking? I haven't tracked it closely. I just was reading a couple of news reports about what he wants to ideally accomplish on day one, and this is a topic we've talked about. He wants to begin a big deportation push for of the undocumented workers, and he wants to deploy the National Guard. So now there's a big scare, from what I've been told. He wants to pardon the January 6th rioters, and then make his criminal cases vanish, and then potentially fire thousands of federal employees that he believes have been secretly working against him. It sounds very paranoid, or very, a lot of paranoia here, as well as abolishing several agencies. So a lot of this sounds like the Project 2025, which we did talk about in another episode, and that he wants to reinstate, the drill, baby, oil drilling in Alaska. Those were some of the big things I found in the news reports. Have you tracked
I've seen
any
some of
that?
that. I've seen some of that. And I've seen
Okay.
some of those as goals. And again, he's not a speech maker. He's not PC. He's a talker, not a speech giver. I expected him to talk some crap. I expected, you expected to hear, I'm going to do this, that, the other.
How do you feel about the January 6th rioters and making his two very different issues, but making his criminal cases vanish? Either one of those. I mean, if there's any truth or merit to that, how do you feel about that? Using his office to pardon the rioters. I find that really troubling.
What I find troubling is security on that day to begin with. The fact that was allowed to happen.
It was abysmal.
Is just abysmal. And
Yeah.
God bless the Capitol Police. I don't know if they were understaffed or what, but that's the difference between a police department and park rangers right there. Are you prepared for this? I mean, that was
There
ridiculous.
weren't many on duty that day. That's
no,
for sure.
No, so I think partial blame for the fact that even was allowed to escalate goes back to Pelosi. I mean, she's in charge of that. That's her deal. That was a fail government wide. Did stuff get out of hand? Yeah, absolutely. Crowd mentality. You know how that is. And there are some people who probably absolutely deserve to be in jail. Guys taking stuff from the building, guys ransacking offices, absolutely need to stay in jail. There's no excuse for that. I don't know who was arrested and on what counts and what charges and what they're in prison for. But yeah, those folks absolutely need to see some time.
Okay. What about his criminal cases? Because we've talked about that too on another.
I think that criminal case was absolutely trumped up, for lack of a better word. They changed the law and order to charge him, and then they changed it back once he was charged. The victim, the bank actually testified in his behalf and said, "We don't care about the collateral. I don't give a damn. He's a great customer. He comes to us all the time. We loan him money all the time. We would have loaned him the money without the collateral. We don't care. We're not." He paid it back with interest per contract. The fact that he overestimated, I think that's ridiculous. That was a witch hunt, and I do think that's evil, and I think those folks ought to be removed. That's corrupt as hell. If that happened to anybody, if you flipped parties, that would absolutely be seen as an attack.
So let's say this was something on the state or local level where someone in a position of authority tried to reverse charges against them. Would you feel any differently?
If it came down like that, if they changed the law and drug a victim who didn't want to be a victim, who said, I'm not a victim, I don't think our Allen County prosecutor, if the victim said, no, I do not feel aggrieved, the contract was paid in full, I don't think we'd even charge that. I would hope we wouldn't.
But I mean, does it matter to you the crime that was committed, or
overvaluing property?
Well, but I'm talking about, like, let's say.
Well, because let's not make up a crime like if it was a different, more egregious crime.
No. I'm just saying, like, using a position of authority to get out of,
I don't know.
I mean,
guess
let's face it, he's been charged with many different crimes.
And they all were it was all similarly based off. And when you see other interviews, like podcasts with New York real estate people, they were like, "Oh my God, do I need to worry about me? Are they coming for me next? Who are they coming for next?" Because we've all been doing this. Is like, just typical business practice in New York, apparently.
Okay, so, all right, again, many different crimes outside of real estate and banking and,
Which one?
Campaign.
Which one are you talking
and
about?
well, there were so many. right? I just, you know, anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on. I'm just, you know, you know, if he would use his position to rid all of those criminal charges.
So I don't know how that works. I really don't.
I don't either.
I've not seen that done before. It would cause me to think for sure.
Can you imagine the headlines and how that would track internationally? Oh my goodness.
Well, and he may, he may have to put it on pause and report to work release after his 4 years. Who knows? I don't know.
And then look who steps into his seat while
it's another election after 4 years.
Oh, well, but in the interim, oh goodness, I don't even want to think about that. He earned 3.5 million more popular votes than Kamala. That was surprising to me.
It was. And
that was surprising to me.
I do think had she interviewed differently, I think we know.
You think that was the?
I think there was a lot of it for some people. I mean, I think if you were on the fence,
I mean, she really targeted the younger demographic. She did connect with podcasts and interviews with, our kids'.
She checked all those boxes. She checked the identity politics boxes. She checked the, I want to see I'm excited to see it too. Look, girl, I grew up in the 80s, man. Had she been 20 years younger, Margaret Thatcher was, what a leader. I mean, back in the day, I admired the hell out of her. And the stuff that she and Ronald Reagan got done back in the day, wonderful. You put a Margaret Thatcher up for the Democratic Party, bet. I think the Republicans should. I think we should put but that wasn't your best candidate. It was not your best candidate. There's so many. I can't listen. I guess I'm sure they're out there. There's so many I disagree with, but I'm sure there are female candidates that could give somebody a run for their money and be outstanding leaders. She fell into that. I mean, she just kind of trickled in. She wasn't even popular in you guys' primary.
No.
When it was, there's so many, I think that played a part. It was not sure. It's not that we are scared to elect a female. It was the wrong one. That was not your best candidate.
Perhaps, but I still think there's a reluctance to nominate or to elect a woman president.
Maybe with some, I'm sure, 100%. I'm sure that's true for some people. But I don't think I don't think we can blame that for this. I think that's convenient.
Not entirely. No, I don't. That's why I didn't lead with.
No, I know, and I know you don't believe that. I know you don't believe that, but a lot of people are saying that. A lot of people are, shaming men because we're not man enough to vote for all that stuff, all that BS, that blue pill, BS. That's not what it was. I mean, for some people, I'm sure, but again, that's
okay. So let's talk a little bit about Indiana and Allen County for those followers that are from this area. We really, statewide and locally, really was, again, red wave, 60-40 for most of the races. 60% of the vote went to the Republican candidate, 40 to the Democrat, if there was a Democratic candidate. We had 8 in Allen County. We had 8 uncontested seats outside the school board elections, which are nonpartisan anyway. And I think 2 of those were Democratic and then the rest were Republican. So 8 uncontested seats, that's problematic.
Yeah. But,
really.
But we did post females for a lot of those.
Yes, you did. And very, very, and props to them. And I know some of them and congratulations to them, seriously. What I found interesting is that we had a voter turnout of almost 58% in Allen County. We have 285,000 voters, registered voters, and 58% of them turned out. That's amazing. That's 165,000 voters. Of the 165,000 that turned out to vote, that's all the votes put together, only 27% did a straight Republican Party ticket.
Really?
And only 15% did a straight Democratic ticket. So what that tells me is people like to pick.
Yeah, we had some crossover.
We had a lot
at least one or two.
We had a lot of crossover is what that tells me. I was like, okay.
Your people more than mine.
Apparently.
No, that's a good thing though. That's a good thing because I do like to see that, honestly. I've always told you I'm it in the basis of most things economic. I'm conservative with that. And I've got some liberal views on some other topics.
Yes, you do.
And things like
You
that.
do.
So I don't mind a little bit of crossover. I want people to pick the best candidate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we've put up some real turds in the past too. And so I like to see people doing their research. Matter of fact, there's an app out there, and I'm not going to plug it because I don't know what it's called, but you can take a little survey, what you believe on different topics, and it will tell you who to vote for. Now, I don't know if that's,
and you're just now telling me?
I know, right. I just now found out about it, but it sounds like a lot of fun. You can take the survey, and they'll say, well, these candidates fall into this category for you. These candidates fall into that category for you. And
well, maybe that's something we can post with the podcast.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I want to do a little deep dive on it and see who's,
Okay.
Is it
Make sure we're plugging something that's
right,
credible.
something legitimate and not, who China wants our next leader to be, but, or whoever owns the software. But yeah, I mean, but that's fascinating. And I'm glad that people are, it's a thing. So people are doing their research on who they're voting for. And that's great. And say what you want. This could be the evilest,
evilest?
most evil presidency ever, no matter what you believe. But at least, you know what? You know what's going on. Before Trump ran for president, I bet you could go out in the street there and quiz 20 people, and I bet 6 of them will know who your vice president was, much less the Speaker of the House or your state rep or your senator.
Geez.
You know what I mean? Like, people don't know that now. Now at least this is part of the culture now, part of the conversation.
It is a part of the conversation. And as we do, it can be civil.
Absolutely.
So I don't know about the intricate details of polling, but I'm kind of appalled by the polling,
Yeah.
both at the national and statewide level. Like, nationally, they had the presidential polls being a lot closer, like nail biting. And it just, clearly, the popular vote, yes, there was a big margin there, but the electoral votes, 226 to Trump's 312. And then with the gubernatorial race here between Mike Braun and Jennifer McCormick, it really was predicted to be a lot closer race. And Mike Braun won with 54% of the vote, and Jennifer McCormick won with 41% of the vote. And she won in the 5 predictable counties that typically go Democratic. And then all the other counties went to Braun. And it makes me wonder, like, what's going on with these pollsters? And I don't know if you know anything more about it than I do.
I know.
They're only as good as the people that collect the information, but it's just like they were really off. I'm not surprised with Jim Banks winning the Senate over Valerie McRae. I think she was wasn't she a first-time candidate?
I think, yep.
Yeah.
I think so.
And she took 3 of the Democratic counties. That didn't surprise me. He had name recognition. He'd been in...
Yeah, he's been doing it a while.
Yeah, he's been doing it a while. The Todd Rokita and Destiny Wells race for Attorney General, that was a closely watched AG race in the nation. And that wasn't as close as they predicted either.
No.
And I'm like, what the heck is going on with these pollsters? So that might be something, and maybe that's something we can talk about in a future episode. I want to find out a little bit more how these are done and how maybe they can be done better. I don't know.
Well, and you've got to wonder, like, how many were done by news agencies,
Right.
and they
Like,
want
who's
you
doing
on the
them?
edge of your seat.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't even know if they're doing them. I've never got a call on one. I don't know if they're doing them or not. I do know the news agencies want you on the edge of your seats here watching every day.
Well, and you know, or some of these exit polls. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, any other thoughts about the red wave that you're probably very, very happy about?
I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'll say that, and I was, I was pleasantly surprised in the morning. I would just say, folks, just exercise some patience and just watch what's happening. And again, we're not voting for personality. We're voting for policy. See what gets done. Don't listen to the mean tweets and the shit talk and all that other stuff.
Disagree.
Well,
disagree.
You're not. So if you've got an employee and he's knocking it out at work, sales quota every month, and he's got a weird hobby or something at home, or who knows what, I mean,
or he's grabbing female employees' rear ends.
That's not.
Character matters,
That's not
Matthew.
happening. That's not happening.
Character matters.
See, that's a hell of an accusation. That's not.
But that's seriously, you can have a great work ethic, but if you have no bedside manner, and if just outright nasty to people,
we need stuff to be fixed, though.
Character matters.
So
we deserve to have great policy. Okay. With great character. We deserve that in a leader.
We deserve both.
We absolutely do.
But this time we had to pick between character and policy. And policy is what gets shit done. Policy is what keeps gas under $5 a gallon and puts food on your table. We can all feel good and warm and fuzzy about the girl whose grandma had a grocery store and mother saved up for a house. But if things go to shit, it doesn't matter. I mean, that warm and fuzzy ain't going to keep you warm all winter. That's all I'm saying. Just see what happens. Let him get in. He knows a little more this time around. He's got better people, I think, around him than he did before.
Does he?
I think he will.
Look who he picked for his Veep.
I think the party picked for the VP, but
right, and he went along with it.
Female chief of staff, though. Yeah.
Who will last 6 months?
I don't know. Susan seems tough. She seems like a tough broad.
I don't know. I don't feel very represented. That's all I can say.
Well,
I'm not going to be, pouting down the hallway. It's not like that. I mean, I have faith in our democracy. I have faith in some of our leaders. I have faith in my friends and loved ones. And it's only 4 years. That's what people have been saying. Well, how much damage could be done in 4 years? And I'm like, ay.
Oh, look at the last 4 years. You got your answer. I had to. She's gonna soft pitch him in like that, folks. I can't help it.
I haven't sighed nearly as much as I thought I would.
I can't help it. All right, I do have one final plea though. Are we gonna wrap up?
Sure, we can wrap up.
If this ever gets to Trump, if you ever see this or any staff member see this, I am begging you, for the love of God and for the country, please choose Candace Owens as your press secretary. I think that would be amazing. Candace Owens needs to be the next press secretary.
Okay, and why are you doing that plug?
Oh, I think it'd be amazing.
Oh my gosh, look how lit up his face is.
Absolutely. That would be a show.
Okay, on that note,
we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for joining. Take care.
The opinions and views expressed on Who's Right, What's Left are Matt and Melissa's solely. They are not necessarily the views of the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, or either of the participants' employers. We'd like to thank our production team at Influencer.tv. For more information on how to start your own podcast, check them out at Influencer.tv.
And don't forget, you can like us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can listen and leave your 5-star review and share on both Apple and Spotify. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
These are important, critical conversations we all need to have with each other for the future of our country. Remember to be polite, make it fun, and we can all agree to disagree.